Welcome to the season 16 premiere of The Box Score. I'm your host, Faith Pinnow. It's been a long break since our team took to the studio, and we have lots to discuss tonight. We're kicking off season 16 with some new experts, never before seen segments, and some hot takes. The NFL season is well underway with week 4 behind us, and tonight we look into the future of some of the best and worst teams in the league right now. And we're also coming at you with our MLB playoff predictions as America's favorite pastime heads into the postseason. We've got a lot to tackle tonight. Are you ready? It's go time. Week 4 of the NFL isn't entirely in the books yet, with the Seattle Seahawks facing off against the Giants Monday night. But tonight, I'm letting you in early on my top 5 power rankings heading into week 5. The number 1 slot for Faith's 5 week 5 is the San Francisco 49ers. They're 4-0 heading into this week, and boy, do they look good. Dare I say they're looking like the most dominant team in the league right now? I do dare. Controlled and commanding, the Niners are already proving themselves to be strong Super Bowl contenders. Their matchup this week against the Cowboys will be the real test, but I've got them coming out on top. Coming in at number 2 are the Buffalo Bills. Buffalo made a statement against Miami on Sunday, and we heard it loud and clear. Josh Allen, without turnovers, is that guy. No doubt he has what it takes to bring this team to an AFC victory. They're absolute bullies on the field, and once their defense gets going, there's nothing they can't do. Philly comes in at number 3, and I know, they've got an undefeated start to the season, but some of those games could have easily turned into losses for the Eagles. This past week, they were able to hold off the Commanders in overtime thanks to some exceptional play by Jalen Hurts and A.J. Brown, and luck has gone their way, but they need to strengthen up the spine of their defense if they want a shot at a conference title. And they might be number 1 in the hearts of many Americans right now, but the Kansas City Chiefs slipped to 4th on my list after a pretty lackluster performance from Patrick Mahomes this weekend. Sure, they won against the Jets, but that game was way closer than it should have been. They do not look like a Super Bowl defending team right now, and they have a lot of stars on offense, but as a whole, that side of the ball just hasn't entirely gelled yet. And rounding out, I've got the Dallas Cowboys with the 5th spot this week. With an exception to their loss in Arizona, this team owns games. They consistently set the pace, and let me tell you, it's fast. The speed of this team is seemingly never ending, and with a strong defense and a season-best effort so far from Dak Prescott, the Cowboys are one to watch. And now, in typical box score fashion, it's time to bring in our analysts to pick apart some teams and players that are underperforming heading into week 5. I'm joined tonight by Evan Sharrard, Noah Berkowitz, Matt Doherty, and Bryson Akins. All right, guys, jumping right in with a little segment I like to call Let 'em Throw or Let 'em Go. We're going to talk about a few quarterbacks who are underperforming this season and determine whether or not they should stay with their respective teams or if we want to send them packing for a new city. Kicking it off first with Kirk Cousins. Over to you first, Matt. Is Kirk's time in the Twin Cities up?
It shouldn't be. It absolutely shouldn't be. Kirk is a guy you need to let throw, especially if you're in charge of running this Minnesota Vikings organization. First, before we really get into it, I'm going to compare Kirk to a mystery, unnamed NFL quarterback. Okay. And you guys tell me what you think here. We're going to start with yards. Kirk Cousins has 1,214 passing yards through the first 4 games. This player has 1,006, so a slight edge to Kirk Cousins. We go to passing touchdowns. Kirk has 11. This player has 8. Another slight edge to Kirk. Interceptions, they both have 4. Completion percentage, in my opinion, the most important stat for a quarterback. Kirk Cousins, 68.8%, which is unbelievable. This quarterback, 64.3%. Again, a slight edge to Kirk Cousins. QBR, Kirk, 104.4. This player, 92. Kirk again. Yards per attempt, how explosive are you on offense? Kirk, 7.7. This player, just with 7. So overall, we could say that Kirk, when it comes to the stats, has a slight edge on this player.
Okay, who is this mystery player?
This player is Patrick Mahomes. Oh, you know the consensus, hands down, best quarterback in the NFL? Kirk, when it comes to the numbers, has a slight edge on that player.
Okay.
When it comes to the record, The Vikings are 1-3. Each one of their 3 losses decided by 1 possession or less. Games that could easily be wins. This team could be 4-0. Wouldn't be that crazy to say. Kirk cannot be the problem right now in Minnesota.
Yeah, but there's a serious problem. And I do want to say I'm digging the stats, but like I'm pretty sure the Vikings have had 11 turnovers so far this season, and Kirk has been responsible for 7 of them. And you're like, why? Why would you do that? You're supposed to be leading this team, and yet you're responsible for some bad things happening against the Panthers. He was responsible for the 99-yard pick 6. Like, what do you say as a GM, as a coach? Like, how are you defending this player?
Well,
tell me.
There are certain plays that, of course, get a lot of clicks on the timeline, like that unfortunate play against the Panthers on Sunday. That wasn't great. That was the first quarter. They rallied. Who won that game, by the way? There are other kind of random plays. Justin Jefferson fumbling out of the back of the end zone. That was kind of weird. We have things like Alexander Mattison at times forgetting how to play football, which is very strange. Which is very strange for a starting running back in the league. The defense has not been overly impressive, so I can't really, in good conscience, say this is all on Kirk, especially in a league where quarterbacks are scarce, especially good quarterbacks. Kirk is definitely a good quarterback. I can't say this.
Okay. So I pose another question.
Please.
Kirk's contract expires at the end of this season. They already extended it a year. Would you extend it again?
It depends how they finish. Right now, let's say the season ended today. I would give Kirk another go.
Really?
Yes, absolutely.
Really?
Absolutely. I would shore up some things like that offensive line.
I thought you were going to say the absolute opposite.
I would draft another player. Like, who are they going to get? If they have a top 5 pick in the draft, of course, that's a different story. I don't think they will. I think they're going to get it going here.
That's true. They need to shore up the O-line.
They have other
Kirk's been sacked 10 times so far this season. He is on track to be sacked a total of 110 times
And here I am being told that it's Kirk's fault. This is unbelievable. It's clearly the offensive line's fault. This guy is performing better than Patrick Mahomes amidst a suboptimal offensive line.
That's true.
And these facts are indisputable.
Okay. Sure. Does that, somebody could dispute it. Numbers don't.
I don't know who would. I don't know who would.
I would like to argue from a team standpoint. I mean, when you think about the future of this league, it moves very, very fast. Caleb Williams is in this next draft. Drake May is in this next coming draft. Kirk Cousins is in his 30s. I'm not going to dispute the facts. He is an incredible quarterback, but he's an incredible quarterback for a contending team. The Vikings do not have the roster to be a contender right now.
Okay, but what would we change? I mean, I know this is about quarterbacks, but what other than a quarterback would you change to make the Vikings a contending team?
I mean, what don't the Vikings need to change right now? But especially on that defensive side, the secondary, the third receiver, Jordan Addison and Justin Jefferson are unbelievable. But KJ Osborne, he's just not a solidifiable third wide receiver.
No, I mean,
I say you solidify the offensive line. He is absolutely a great quarterback with a contending team, but the Vikings aren't that far away. Okay, just shore up some things in some different categories. We'll be all right. It's never a good idea to get rid of a good quarterback, especially in this league.
I do appreciate the optimism, personally, as a Vikings fan. I really appreciate that. Thank you. We're going to move on, though. We're going to move on to somebody who's been all across the headlines recently. We're going to talk about Zach Wilson. Noah, let him throw or let him go?
Well, Zach Wilson was a consensus let him go until the Chiefs game, where he posed the best career performance in really since college. But let's take a look at the stats. In his career, 38.7 QBR, 19 touchdowns to 22 interceptions, and this season, 5th most time until pressure this season. So it means that he genuinely has a good offensive line for him. I mean, more than half a second than Tua, Dak, Josh Allen, Brock Purdy, all in the pocket. But the kicker is he's blitzed at the 2nd lowest rate in the NFL. How are we going to say that this kid can consistently perform at the way he did against the Chiefs? Nathaniel Hackett obviously has to stand up. Robert Saleh has to game plan for him effectively. But this is a kid who, over the past 3 seasons, has shown that he's a historically inaccurate and ineffective quarterback. I've got to say, let him go.
Yeah, I have to agree, except when we're talking about the game against the Chiefs on Sunday. Zach Wilson is the only quarterback to go up against Patrick Mahomes and have more passing yards, more touchdown passes, and fewer interceptions in college and pro. But then we're talking about Patrick Mahomes, and we're like, he's the best guy in the league. He's the best guy in the league. He's the next Brady. But yet we saw Zach's performance last night. So I don't know, guys. Would you let him throw or would you let him go?
I wouldn't let him throw if he regresses back to where he had been. But Zach Wilson is still a young quarterback, and you mentioned that his offensive line, Noah, was giving him some time. He is actually tied for the 10th most sacked quarterback in the league out of all players who've played 4 games. So he's been sacked 10 times.
I have to jump in too. Would you want to wait for him to regress? Can you say that last night's game was progress?
Yes.
Is it a fluke? Really? Like that it's actual progress.
I love what I see from this kid, and I loved it last night. The NFL, they tried to, have Taylor Swift steal the show. Oh, this is gonna be Taylor Swift and Travis Kelce. This is gonna be the Chiefs. Oh, who is it? It's Zach Wilson. Stealing the show, dominating the second and third quarter. This guy was making unbelievable throws. I don't know if people heard Chris Collinsworth. This guy was having visceral and audible reactions to the way Zach Wilson was playing
because
football.
It was shocking.
It was unbelievable.
Because all he's done up until this point is prove us all right, and we're like, man.
This is a guy who was drafted
Zach
second
Wilson
overall.
can't perform.
Second overall, and for good reason. He has unbelievable arm talent. He's, by the way, a quarterback who is much better than Mac Jones. He's when it comes to individual arm talent, this guy has always had it. It's just about, can he put the pieces together? He did it last night. Who's to say he doesn't do it going forward? By the way, we talk about mentality. We talk about progression. A year ago, he blamed his defense. He said, "Oh, that's not on me. That's on the defense." Last night, what did he do? He said, "That's on me. That's me. That's on me.
True.
I fumbled.
That's
I
true.
fumbled." Even though he had an unbelievable game.
Don't mind me jumping in here. I
Please.
think some of the mentality part is having Aaron Rodgers mentor you for the short time they had during the summer. Increasing your mentality does help out a lot with the game. If you don't have a good mentality, if you don't have a good headspace, you're not going to play well. And ever since he's had Aaron Rodgers as a mentor, as the second string QB, he's been playing better. This Chiefs game was probably his best game I've seen him play.
Yeah.
I can't think of another performance. And
Agreed.
I say if you give him another 2-3 games, show if he can still play at that level. If he does, let him throw. If not, let him go and you try to tank and get Caleb Williams in the draft.
So true. Think about where Luke Skywalker would be without Yoda. Without Obi-Wan Kenobi. This is what we see now with Zach Wilson and Aaron Rodgers. You have one of the greatest teachers of all time, one of the greatest throwers of the football of all time.
Sure.
Coaching him. Let's see what this guy can do.
Okay.
You saw flashes of it last night, and I'm
you guys
excited.
want to let him throw, it feels like. Fine. We're going to move on. You mentioned Mac Jones. We're going to talk about Mac Jones.
Please.
Patriots are a hot mess. We can get into that
guy
all
stinks.
later. Evan,
Yes.
Mac Jones, let him throw or let him go?
You got to let him throw. I think there have been a lot of headlines just 2 weeks ago that would have said, yeah, Mac Jones is really taking steps forward. All of Patriots training camp, Bill Belichick saying, yeah, Mac Jones looks a lot better. He's taken the steps he's needed to play in this offense. They have the worst game of their season against the best defense in the NFL so far to this point in the year. And now everybody wants to jump on and say, we got to throw Mac Jones away. He's not good. I mean, Matt, you said this earlier. I mean, a lot of people compared Mac Jones to Kirk Cousins coming out of college. And let's say that Kirk Cousins is Mac Jones's upside. And you said, it's hard to come by good quarterbacks. When quarterbacks are scarce, Mac Jones makes great reads. Look at this play right here. This is on 4th and 1. You want to talk about a guy that can extend plays? Is he a pylon in the pocket? No, he just completes a big play to Jonnu Smith on 4th and 1. And that's when the game's on the line. Mac Jones has been great in times where he's needed to be great, and he's had no talent around him beyond a guy like Devontae Parker, who is really not a number 1 on most teams in the league. He had Jacoby Myers out of the slot, who really was his best option. He's had no tight end consistency. Hunter Henry's been hurt until pretty much this season. Mike Gesicki, they misused Jonnu Smith last season. They had terrible offensive coordinator last year. I've liked what I've seen getting the ball out of the backfield to different running backs, and they need to help Mac Jones out around in the offensive line as well. The offensive line's been horrible. They were just playing the best pass rush in the league. Tom Brady had a game like this against the Kansas City Chiefs back in 2015 when they won the Super Bowl.
You'd won
One game, and Mac Jones just had one game like that. Are we saying this about Mac Jones? If the Patriots beat the Cowboys this past week,
Impossible.
38-3.
Impossible with Mac Jones as your quarterback.
No, that's not true.
I'm just saying.
You talk about. I'm sorry, Mac. In moments where it mattered, Mac's been okay. In games where Mac has gotten the ball down seven or less in the fourth quarter, in games where he had the opportunity to win the game, he's 0-13 in his
But you
career.
need
he
a
has
team.
never done
You
it.
need a
He's
team
had the
to win
opportunity.
games.
13. It's not a small sample size. This is a very large sample size, and Mac Jones has never delivered ever. It's 0 out of 13 tries. It's
I do have to say this is the first time since 2000 that the Patriots have scored less than 55 points in the first 4 games combined.
0-14
The first time
in
since
the first
2000.
Matt.
I want to put that out there. None of us were even born yet.
Can any
Like-
of you name me the top 3 receivers for the New England Patriots this year?
Devontae, Kendrick Bourne, and Hunter Henry are all not
Top
great.
wide receivers.
Okay.
Wide receivers.
Demario Douglas.
Okay, we are not settling this tonight, but don't worry because I have one more quarterback to bring up, and I'm excited to see what you guys think of him. Russell Wilson. Bryson, I'm going to toss it to you first because there's the Russell lovers, and then there's so many haters so far this season. After last night, especially, how are we feeling?
Is retire an option?
I mean, yeah, that's cool. It's just let him go.
I feel like
That's
at the
your
end of
vibe.
the season, you just retire. He's been on a decline since 2020. 2020, he put up 4,212 yards, 40 tutties, 13 picks, and a completion percentage of 69%, which is his best outing ever in his career. 2022, when his first season with the Broncos, 3,524 yards, 16 tutties, the same amount of toilets that he has in his house, and 11 picks. Now, so far,
Well, does he have like a lot of kids? It's fine.
yeah. In 2023, he has 1,014 yards, 9th in the NFL, tied second with tutties, with 9, 2 picks, and a completion percentage of 67%.
So he's performing less than optimal.
Oh, top.
That's
he's
like what you're
he's
saying.
performing well, but the stats are lying.
Okay, but give me your take. Like, yeah, the stats are there, but like as we've seen with stats when Matt was talking about Kirk Cousins, stats aren't everything.
They are.
So you want to?
That's not what you
Yes,
said.
I mean they're so much of the game, but at the same time, as you guys are saying, you can't say stats are everything and then also say, well, it's not like a quarterback's fault entirely if their team.
Well, the stats are lying. He hasn't played really any good defense so far. He played Washington, who has a very mediocre defense. Their secondary is not that well, so you can pick them apart in the passing game. Then you play Las Vegas, who also, they have a good pass rushing. He got sacked, I believe, 7 times that game. And I don't think he threw an interception. He had a really well off game there. And then he did well against the Bears, but that's the Bears. I could do well against the Bears.
But is some of it not the eye test? I mean, they were down 3 scores, 3 touchdowns, 21-point lead that they overcame. And, I mean, Sean Payton cut the sleeves off, and I guess he cut Russell Wilson loose, too, because he performed great.
He performed great, but once again, it's the Bears. They have the worst ranked defense in the entire league. You could put Tony Romo coming out of retirement, and he'd do well against the Bears.
Top 10 in all passing categories that matter, by the way, Russell Wilson.
Okay, so everyone say now. You let him throw or you let him go? Just say one.
You let him throw.
Let him throw?
You let him go.
Let him go.
If you have a top pick, you have to let him go.
I say let him go. Lucky us, we have the next few seconds to decide over our commercial break. We're going to take a short break, but when we return, we're giving you the first glimpse at our MLB playoff predictions. Stay right there. This week's Wild Card Series kicks off on Tuesday night, and it's sure to be an exciting October for baseball fans. Can the Atlanta Braves pull out a win in the National League, or will a sneaky Dodgers, Phillies, or Brewers crew take the title? And will the record-winning Orioles take it all the way to the World Series ahead of the Rangers or Astros? For once, I'm actually not the one with the answers, but luckily I'm joined by baseball experts Danielle DuBois, Evan Sharrard, and Bryson Akins. You all have studied this season inside and out, and with the postseason upon us, I want to know what your brackets are looking like. Danielle, why don't you kick us off? What's up with the playoffs?
So there's a lot to see here, but the first thing I really want to point out is the Orioles going to the World Series.
Okay.
I know it might be a little bit of a hot take, but I have been riding the Orioles train since the offseason. I'd like to point out we can replay the footage of last season if we really wanted to. But the Orioles, they have a really great young team, very offensive, very dynamic team. Their pitching is a little bit of a concern. However, I've talked about this with many people. It's not going to be a pitching playoffs, guys. Like, I can't say necessarily any of these teams have absolutely stacked lineups for pitching, but the Orioles, I think, could go really far, obviously. We have the Rays getting beat by the Orioles. We have the Astros, I think, not necessarily making it out alive. And then when we look at the other side, I think the Dodgers are going to take over the Diamondbacks. I think it was a great run for the Diamondbacks. I think they surprised us all as well. And then we have the Braves also losing to the Phillies, which I know
what's up there?
Yeah, I know.
Explain this one a little.
Yeah, I know. I want to dive into that just a little bit. The Braves are obviously one of the best teams we've seen play baseball ever. Like, they are absolutely, truly so dynamic. Their offense is electric. Their pitching has been really great. They've had a lot of injuries throughout the season and everything. However, I think this obviously could be their year, and maybe I'm completely wrong. However, the Phillies have their number in the playoffs, and we know that they can beat them. So I just feel like the Cinderella story for the Braves is going to come to an end here. It's not all sunshine and rainbows.
Okay. And then you have the Dodgers winning the World Series.
Yeah.
Touch on that. Why not the Orioles? You said you were like, I've been on the Orioles train. What happened?
I've been on the Orioles
Where's
train.
the breakdown?
Like I said. But I honestly think that the Dodgers just have a little bit more experience, and I think that's going to get you in the playoffs. You really need playoff experience. And the Orioles, like I said, they're a very young team, and while that's really exciting and really awesome, I just don't necessarily think that lack of playoff experience, I think that's really going to come to bite them.
Yeah, totally unproven.
Yes.
In October.
So I think they're going to go far. However, the playoff experience really has me sneaking the Dodgers just a little bit over the
I
Orioles.
just want to jump in. You said this postseason isn't going to be about pitching. It's going to be about offense. Why are the Rangers getting beat first round if they have the best offense in the AL?
Wow, okay. That's a fair point. I don't know. I feel like it's been great for the Rangers, and obviously, this is is it their first time making the playoffs and what?
Since 2016, 7 years.
Yeah. So I think that's great. However, like I said, lack of experience. That comes into play.
Yeah, I mean, how much does that matter?
Okay, what about Corey Seager? World Series MVP, NLCS MVP. He has the experience. A few of these guys on the team have experience. Marcus Semien.
That's a player or two.
Yes.
But is it enough? We talk about this in every sport too. It's very important in baseball. These guys play so many games in a season.
I think baseball is the most. You have to.
It matters the most.
I think it matters the most. Of any of the four major sports.
I agree. I mean, the Orioles. Correct me if I'm wrong. They have home field advantage for most of the playoffs. Correct?
Yep.
Yeah. And
something about Camden yards. I mean,
how much is that going to factor in?
Oh, it matters. I mean, greatly, especially when you're talking about going from East Coast to West Coast. I mean, that is a huge, huge deal.
Yeah.
I think I personally, it could be their year. It could be, but I just feel like the Dodgers' experience just sneaks them in a little bit more.
Okay. I want to see Bryson's bracket. Bryson, you posed some questions to Danielle. I feel like it's your time to face the music a little bit. Break this down for us.
Okay.
What's happening?
So I'm going to start it off with the Rangers. Like I said, best team in the AL by offensive standards. You have Corey Seager, hardly offense. He leads the team with home runs and runs scored. You have Adolis Garcia, who leads the team in RBIs. Marcus Semien leads the league in walk-off homers, also posted up above 300 batting average. And you have young guys like Josh Young, who would have been AL Rookie of the Year if he didn't get injured. Evan Carter, who got called up for 30 games, posting above 300 batting average with 4 home runs. And yeah, they don't steal a lot. Ronald Acuna has more stolen bases than the Rangers. I get that. But that's why they're being the Rays first off. Best offense in the AL. Rays injury-ridden on the offensive side and pitching side of it. Baltimore, their bullpen is really taking a hit ever since some injuries, including Felix Bautista, who was the best closer in baseball. Now he's injured for the postseason. And don't get me started, Max Scherzer could be back for the ALDS.
People are saying there's so many people who are supposed to be coming back in October on many teams. What teams do injuries affect the most right now?
The Rays and the Braves, I feel like. But I still have the Braves pulling it out because every single player on that team is putting up video game numbers. Every single team. Ronald Acuna, a 40-70 season, unheard of. No one's done that before, only him. And then you have the Phillies. I have them getting beat there just because, once again, sure, they have a good offense. That's when pitching is going to come into it. I believe that the Braves have a better pitching standpoint there. than the Diamondbacks being the Brewers. I'm not sold on the Brewers. I'm going to be honest. I don't
Really?
see what's special about them that much.
I can jump in there. The Brewers have had one of the best bullpens in all of baseball this year. Hobie Milner has come out of nowhere as someone who would have never heard of Joel Payamps this year as well. Devin Williams is maybe the best closer in baseball. The reason the Brewers are here is because of their pitching. They have maybe the best rotation in baseball. Brandon Woodruff's just come back off of injury, just helped me win a fantasy baseball title. Corbin Burns has been one of the best starters for the past 3 years. If they can get into one-run games, the Brewers are 28-18 in one-run games this year, which is one of the best records.
Yeah.
That's impressive.
One of the best records in the league. The Braves, mind you, are actually through one-run games. They are 23-17 this year, and they won 100 games.
Okay. No,
I want to talk about pitching. That's where the Brewers really do have a strength over most teams.
Then that's true, and that's true. The Brewers do have an incredible strength there. Break down what you have happening, because you guys all have such different things. I mean, you have a lot more faith in the Astros than it feels like Danielle and Bryson did, and I mean their team had like 6 titles.
So one thing we haven't really mentioned here is health. And the Houston Astros have dealt with a lot of health issues all throughout the regular season. They didn't have Altuve till a couple months after the start of the season. Yordan Alvarez went down. He's the key cog of that offense. You pitch around everybody in that offense until Chas McCormick. Chas McCormick had a breakout season this year. Everybody was looking at him in center field as if, okay, let's just pitch to this guy. He's hit the most opposite field home runs this year. He's got some opposite field power, which is really odd for an outfielder like him.
Yeah.
They really have maybe the strongest lineup in baseball. Alex Bregman's come back and played better after 2 down years. Their pitching is, I think they've thrown, I'm not certain about this, but I think that they've thrown the most no-hitters in the last 3 years. Their pitching is elite. Their bullpen is great. The Astros do have what it takes, especially Danielle, you talked about experience. Nobody has more experience here than the Astros and the Dodgers. I like the Dodgers over the Braves just because I think the Dodgers have a better back end of the bullpen. I think that every playoffs to me is always about every playoffs is always about pitching because all of these offenses are so good, except for maybe the Brewers and the Marlins, that this really does come back down to who's going to win those one-run games. And I do like the Dodgers and the Astros the most out of all these teams.
Okay, different, but I see some correlation between everybody's, and I'm excited. We're going to go on another short break, but stay with us. When we return, we're hopping back into the NFL to recap the wild Week 4, and you won't want to miss it.
All right, come back in 10 seconds. Ready, camera 1. Camera 1, get a wide shot of the entire thing, and in 3, 2, 1, take it. Tell them cue.
Welcome back to Emerson College. Emerson trails
Camera 4, get a shot of the players coming across the court.
10 seconds left. Emerson trails by 1 point. As
Camera 2 close upon the person shooting.
Thanks, Joe. With 10 seconds left, Emerson's hoping to pull away and score this game.
Camera 1, get a close up, follow them over.
Emerson trails WPI by 10 points. 10 seconds left. Emerson trails by 1 point as the team finishes their timeout.
Camera 1, close up on number 33.
Thanks, Joe. With 10 seconds left, Emerson's hoping to pull away.
Follow the ball, follow the ball.
If you're anything like us, then you spent 13 hours of your Sunday in front of your couch experiencing the emotional roller coaster of yesterday's games. If you're not like us, maybe you got to see a little sunlight and still have your voice, and that must be really nice. Some teams far exceeded our expectations while others fell short, and we are highlighting 4 games that changed the landscape ahead of Week 5, so buckle up. I'm joined again by Evan Sharrard, Noah Berkowitz, Danielle DuBois, and Bryson Akins, and we need to talk about the Eagles-Commanders game right now. Bryson, what was your first reaction to this game on Sunday?
Hurts balled out. Jalen Hurts hurts. Like, that's simple. 319 yards, 2 tutties, and then A.J. Brown was simply untouchable. No one could guard him. I mean, he went out. Another thought I had, though, 34-31, are the Commanders good, or are the Eagles just not what they were like? And so
That's a great question. That's actually a great question.
I think I can answer that for you.
Go ahead.
I was watching a lot of the condensed footage, and there were just some plays in this game where it just looked like the Eagles' front four, they just really weren't getting to Sam Howell fast enough.
Yeah.
Where it's not like either team played a bad game. This was just a game where it feels like the Eagles are still kind of asleep. They had that week 1 game against the Patriots where it's like, okay, you guys had a 2-score lead. Everything's going right in the first half, and you almost lose. And if it wasn't for Keyshawn Boutte not keeping 2 feet in bounds, the Patriots probably win that game.
Yeah.
So there's also,
yeah.
and the Eagles, they just didn't really get as much pressure as they could. Sam Howell made some big plays. There was a 3rd and 17 in this game where the Eagles could have won. They were winning by a touchdown, and they gave up a touchdown with 2 seconds left in the game on, and Sam Howell had a good game overall. There was one play in this game where Howell threw it up on 1st and goal in the red zone, and it really did show, the Commanders' offense, pretty good. Howell, off and on, is he their guy? You know, we're still figuring it out. He's a rookie.
Yeah, no, that's something I noticed.
I was about to say.
Their whole line is a disaster.
It is.
Guys.
It really is.
Sam Howell's been sacked 19 times. And that was only in the first 3
And the
weeks.
Eagles' D-line is supposed to be one of the better in the league.
Yes.
They're supposed to be really good, and you can't get them that often against a Commanders' offensive line that is very shaky. I don't know if the Eagles, if it's the defense that's just making them go down a step, or if the Commanders can compete in the NFC East a little bit.
I think it's really more their pass rush, the pass rush specifically. I think they fit the run pretty well.
The pass rush has been getting into.
Yeah, the pass rush. The pass rush has just not been getting pressure fast enough. They have a lot of depth, so there are a lot of different combinations they can try. They tried a couple stunts against this line where they looped the outside edge inside against the guard. Normally that'd go to the outside against the tackle. And I thought that there were a couple good plays by the right guard for the Commanders in this game, picking up some of those pressures. I think it's just kind of a wait-and-see thing. I think the Eagles are fine. Faith, you had them in the top 5. They're 4-0. They're a week 4-0.
But I said the same thing that you said.
Yeah.
Basically, which is that luck has been on their side, and had multiple things knock on the Eagles' way, they would not be 4-0 right now.
Well, that last field goal that won them the game in overtime, it almost
without a
went
doubt.
right.
Exactly, and that's not something that you want to be seeing from a team who's coming off of a Super Bowl performance.
Who's supposed to be back in the Super Bowl.
Exactly.
And I think they still could do it. They're still a great team,
Sure.
by far. I think they can easily win their division. However, like you said, it has been luck, really. And I think we saw the Commanders last season. I mean, they kind of surprised us all. And I think that they could be possibly doing that again.
We'll see how the Eagles fare once they play, I believe, week 8, week 9, when they face the Cowboys defense. That'll be their first rough test.
It will.
Should
It
be.
will.
It'll be a rough test. It is.
Meeting Titans together, but I think the biggest thing we learned from this game is that Sam Howell is serviceable at the very minimum. I mean, this was a very good bounce back performance from him, coming off of a week where he played pretty abysmal, and Washington Commanders fans were almost calling for his head, but I would like to argue that Sam Howell probably is that guy. I mean, he's a very serviceable starting. He's that guy. Sam Howell
He's
is
just
him.
young. He's learning still.
Okay.
I agree. I think sitting most of last season until the last game, starting this season, I think that he's absolutely the guy going forward. His floor is serviceable, and I think in competing with a defense like the Philadelphia Eagles in a very tough division that included the Dallas Cowboys, which is arguably the best defense in the league, Sam Howell's getting shots thrown at him and thrown at him and thrown at him, and he's performed pretty well.
Yeah. I mean,
you can't forget about Brian Robinson Jr. either in the backfield.
that's
He's been
true.
playing very well this season.
Very well.
That's
he
true.
played very well. And stuff.
He seems like he's always second year back. It seems like, okay, he's going to be tackled now, and then he always has a second effort.
Somehow gets out of it.
Impressive.
Yeah, he's very strong.
Yeah.
Seems like we focus on the wrong B-Rob down in Atlanta.
Yes.
Washington's got their own.
Okay, we're gonna head down south now. Well, kind of half and half. This game was played in New York, but let's talk about the Bills-Dolphins game. There's so much to talk about. Why don't you kick it off?
There's so much to talk about, but I think the biggest point here is that the AFC East still runs through Buffalo. We thought it was going to be the Jets at the beginning of the season with the addition of Aaron Rodgers. He went down. They did lose their Week 1 opening matchup to the Jets, but I think a lot of that is due to the fight the Jets showed through the end of that adversity. I think Josh Allen throwing up 320 yards, 4 tutties. I think a mix of it as well is Tua might be a little overhyped. The Dolphins might be a little overhyped. They did put up 70 points. I'm not going to deny that.
that.
But I feel like this is the same story with Tua every single season. Is he starts out firing, he starts out like he's going to be an MVP candidate, but is the arm strength there? That's still a question. Is Tyreek?
he doesn't have Josh Allen's arm.
Tyreek Hill the one who consistently balls him out? Is it going to be?
I
What
mean,
if you
Tyreek
say that about
Hill,
Stephon
but
Diggs?
but like you can't deny, like Tyreek Hill, like he's just an immeasurable asset for the Dolphins.
I don't
That duo of Tyreek Hill and
All
Waddle
over
is
it. You
insane.
can't.
I'm not.
They have Waddle.
Because
They
they're the
have,
duo in the league.
they have Waddle. They have Moser. I mean, they are still a great team by far. I think you're being a little bit too hard on them, honestly, because it's the Bills, guys. I mean, they are still a great team. I think people were just kind of counting them out from the very first 3 weeks, but they're still the Bills. They're still a great team. So this matchup, I mean, we were expecting a very high-scoring matchup to begin with. Obviously, the Dolphins can't score 70 points each week. That's not plausible.
No,
it's not possible. The fact that they did that was insane. But they still have such a dynamic, such a complete offense that I think they're still going to be competitive.
Their defense, they're
No,
so
yeah.
much
It does,
work.
it does,
Should they
it
have
does.
lost
I've got
by
it.
28 points to the Bills?
No.
No.
Not if they were that good. Like, and you can have a sensational offense, and that is what people have been touting for Tua. And don't get me wrong, I think the Dolphins are a fantastic team. They are not a complete team.
I would agree.
And they can't play with the same cohesion that the Bills can. And they have speed and they have fantastic weapons, but it can't compare.
I think I really have to push back on that, especially Noah. What you said at first, I think they're just not there yet. Like Noah, you were going on about Tua. Was the offense the problem in this game? No, like it was the defense, and that's what you were saying, Danielle. And I loved what you were saying.
It's the issue. Like the offense, there's nothing wrong with it. There's so many pieces there. I mean,
But if you want to talk about
he's great. I mean, the fact that he's still playing is insane. First of all,
But if you want to talk about the defense, I mean, obviously their secondary was supposed to be, according to some experts, the best in the league, better than the Jets, who have the best secondary.
Jalen Ramsey.
The Dolphins, who have the Cowboys, who have the second best secondary. Jalen Ramsey is injured, but Xavier Howard took a major step back last season and has not been amazing to start this season either. The safety problem does exist. The linebacker issue still exists. The defense is a major problem for the Dolphins. Their offense isn't going to be able to bail them out and couldn't win in a shootout against the Bills, which is what we're talking about. The Bills showed that their offense is more high-powered than the Dolphins.
I disagree.
When they play how they did last night, it was clean football. There was such limited turnovers, and Josh Allen was on his game. I mean, he was throwing absolutely
his game. This was the first time we really saw him on his game
back
this season,
on.
which, I mean, when Josh Allen is on, he is on.
Yeah.
And that's what I'm saying.
It's
so challenging to defend.
Do we see this happen every game from Josh Allen? My whole question with the Bills is the Bills.
Inconsistent.
I was saying in a pitch meeting, the Bills could miss the playoffs. The way that they do that is if Josh Allen makes mistakes in close games late. And I don't think it'll happen, but it could. And this was an instance of the Bills playing perfect football exactly as they lined it up in the pregame. And the Dolphins' defense didn't have an answer. In order to have a good secondary, I don't care who you have out there, you have to have a good pass rush. And they were not getting to the quarterback. Josh Allen was moving all around. Was Jalen Phillips doing much for the team? You can't have one guy pass rush the quarterback. And if you want to talk about linebackers don't matter until your defensive line matters. Linebackers are the running backs of defense. They're just there to fill gaps and tackle and cover if you're running a Tampa 2 defense. But the Dolphins' defense is where they need help. I don't think that it's going to keep them from contending for a Super Bowl. I do think it's kind of an overreaction to say that we're going to move from them being the third team in NFL history to score 70 points and immediately count them out because their defense has one bad game. I will cite it again. I will cite it again. The Patriots gave up 48 points to the Kansas City Chiefs. Tom Brady threw 2 picks and Jimmy Garoppolo came in 2015. Donovan McNabb goes on TV and says Brady's done. He plays for another 10 years, wins 3 more Super Bowls.
It's a very different situation.
But it was a blowout loss. It was in week 4, and everybody's blowing up like, it's too early in the season to say the Dolphins are done because they were just the Super Bowl winner last year.
They're not done, but they're not done. They're not done. And those are 2 sensational teams. But I do want to kind of change our tide a little bit. I want to talk about the Colts-Rams game because like when I saw the schedule this week, I was like, oh yeah, like a Colts Rams, I'll watch it. And I was like, this game is great. What
Colts Rams
happened?
like matchup. I mean, who would have thought it would have ended the way it did?
I
mean,
did not expect it to go into overtime.
I applaud them. Like, good for
Yeah.
them for putting up a good game. I also, I didn't necessarily expect that with the Eagles and Commanders either. So, I mean,
Not at all.
I'm very pleased with this Sunday of football. But the Colts versus Rams going to overtime, 29-23 Rams. I mean, we just talk about Puka Nacua for just a second. He is absolutely insane. He had one touchdown, 163 yards on Sunday.
Yeah.
He is absolutely smart.
In the first 2 weeks.
I am so excited.
In
to
the
see
first
him
2 weeks, he had 25 catches and 266 yards. In 2 weeks. When Cooper Kupp is like back, guys, forget about it.
I mean,
Forget
It's like
about
500 receptions.
it. Like, it's gonna be
insane.
it's gonna be wild.
I mean, we haven't seen a talent like this in a long time.
Yeah.
And I feel like nobody really had him on he wasn't on any of our radars. I mean, people are automatically picking up off fantasy waivers now. Everybody is making sure that they have him on a
I
fantasy
turn on
team.
my TV every morning and I hear his name.
Yeah.
No less. Than
He's
50
being
times.
talked. I mean, he's going to become a household name easily.
If he's not already.
yeah.
We keep talking about the Rams, though. I mean, what about Anthony Richardson? Just came back from
yes.
concussion. I might go in and say he might be the best quarterback coming out of this draft class if he keeps playing like this.
If he
Completely
keeps
agree.
playing, yeah. if he
First
keeps playing like
close.
this,
First
yes.
quarterback to rush for 4 touchdowns in their first 3 games. But
He has a good arm, too. He has a good
He does
arm.
have a good arm, but like
He's
yeah.
like really good. He's honestly
Fresh
surprised
games.
me. I honestly like had a very low bar for him going into the season. I was like, oh, he's not going to be anything, and he's kind of really shocked me with this Colts offense. I
Yeah.
have to
People were
say.
thinking
I
he's going to rely on his athleticism too much, and he's been balling out.
He's
when
been balling out, but people are saying that like he hasn't had enough passing TDs. He really has been lacking targets. Like, and that's such a big thing. Like their offense could be so much more powerful. We all know this, and we see this across countless teams every year in the league. But like, this could be such a
If
like
they
a
surround him with
powerful,
weapons,
yeah.
like
What would this
imagine
team
what
look
that
like?
team
The best-
is.
if they
Jonathan
could beef
Taylor.
it up a little bit.
I mean,
more.
that would look great. That'd be so nice.
And the rumors are that he's coming off of the PUP list. I mean, you're adding arguably the best running back in the NFL. Not in my opinion, but in many people's opinions, the best running back, the most versatile running back other than Christian McCaffrey or Bijan Robinson at this point.
You give Richardson one good wide receiver, though. I mean, look at one just.
I mean, Michael
number one
Pittman,
wide
but
receiver.
you need another.
Michael Pittman's fine, but you need someone else
Fine.
besides.
You need like
Pittman.
a
The best way
star
I can describe Richardson though is Cam Newton when they made the Super Bowl with the Carolina Panthers.
I do
That's
like
the
the
best way I can define Anthony Richardson. Very athletic, has a good arm.
Is this what we're gonna say is the reason though that the Colts ended up losing in overtime? Was it because of the lack of targets? Was it because they ran out of options on offense? Like, what ended up being their Achilles heel in this game against the Rams?
I just think
Why
it's the
didn't
options.
they win?
You can't rely on Anthony
Entirely.
Richardson looking to Michael Pittman the whole time.
Yeah, I don't think there was any problem with the offense in this game. I mean, they allowed over 30 points. That's how, was it 29-28? It was
29-23.
Yeah, 29-23. You allow 29 points in a game. I don't think any head coach is going to tell you that they expect to win. You want to allow usually you want to allow less than 20. That's unlikely in the NFL, but
in modern day NFL, it's highly.
So the Colts pass rush has been really good. Their problems really do lie in the secondary. Kenny Moore had been their best guy for the past couple years. They just don't really have anybody else back there right now. I thought the Colts offense has been great through the first couple weeks. Samson Ebukam defensively has been a energy guy. We haven't even really been talking about Shaquille Leonard because DeForest Buckner's been in there as well. They get inside pressure from Taven Bryan as well, coming over from the Jaguars. Their front seven has been good.
Yeah.
And better than I think we've expected. And their offense, Shane Steichen's play calling has been great. There's been a great balance. You mentioned, Bryson, that he looks similar to Cam Newton that Super Bowl year for the Panthers. They've had a very balanced, Richardson especially has had a balanced run to pass ratio, which a lot of rookies struggle with. So
Yeah, I mean, guys, like, listen, these were two teams that surprised us but performed really well, and that was fun to watch. Another really fun game from a really from a great team and another pretty good team. Now we're talking about them. Let's talk about the 49ers Cardinals. Like, that was another game. I was excited to see what the 49ers were going to do, but I didn't. There were some parts of the game that I really didn't anticipate. Bryson, how are you feeling about that game?
I mean, CMC is solidifying himself as the best running back in the NFL. Without CMC, I don't think the 49ers are who they are. Brock Purdy, he's a Drew Brees type of player.
Yeah.
He's not going to take chances down the field. You have Deebo Samuel, who is shifty. He has very quick speed. He can get down the field, get open, but Brock Purdy's not going to take that chance to hit you with a 40-yard go route when you're wide open. He's going to look to the slant. He's going to look to George Kittle doing a 5 and out. And without CMC running the ball as dominant as he has been, I don't think the 49ers are 4-0. They might be 2-2.
I mean, going in, CMC, if he can't get open for some reason, there's Josh Dobbs, who got 2 touchdowns, 265 yards on Sunday.
Yeah.
Insane.
It was wild.
Great backup option.
When everyone heard Josh Dobbs was going to be the quarterback in Arizona, everyone just wrote them off completely. And they go out and beat the Cowboys. Granted, they were injury-ridden, but you still beat the Cowboys, who were supposed to be undefeated going into this Week 5 matchup against the 49ers.
Okay, let's switch over quickly. Let's talk about the Cardinals. What do the Cardinals do right? What could they do better next?
So Josh Dobbs, I think the Cardinals are the Cardinals. This game felt like both teams played their best football. The Cardinals didn't Josh Dobbs had a great game. He didn't turn the ball over. Picked up a 4th and 7. Who goes for it down 14 in the second quarter? On 4th down and 7 in your own territory.
The Cardinals.
They can't have Christian McCaffrey.
Because they know. I think that they know that they're not.
So well, I'm saying, on the other end, he did so well.
They know
and
that
he really impressed me.
Yeah, Josh Dobbs was great. He threw a tough corner post for a touchdown to Michael Wilson for his first career touchdown. He had a lot of great plays in this game. The Cardinals really seemed like they played the best that they could. They don't really have a lot of options anywhere, defensively, offensively, and the 49ers were the 49ers.
This weekend was full of surprises, guys, and I am excited for Week 5. But unfortunately, that's all the time we have left for tonight. Thank you so much for tuning in to Season 16 premiere of The Box Score. Make sure to follow us on Instagram and Twitter at EIV Box Score. And while you're there, follow me at faith.pinnow. For Matt Doherty, Noah Berkowitz, Evan Sharrard, Bryson Akins, and Danielle DuBois, I'm Faith Pinnow, and we'll see you next time on The Box Score.